Hello everyone, and thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Driblet. This review will not follow my normal convention. I've had this for quite a while. I think I got this back in February. The first date of any DVR footage that I have on my PC came from the following month, so that gives you an idea of how long I've had this. About 6 months. And I had it built relatively soon, and it's been sitting on the corner of my desk. Joe has been asking about this. He wants to do a canopy design for this frame, and I think Joe's in the right direction there. I think we need to shed some weight. This is just much too heavy for a 2-incher. I had been stubborn and trying to find a way to making this a reasonable flyer with reasonable flight time, but unfortunately I think it's time to give up the ghost and just to move on. So the short version of this is I use some micro components like the ready-made RC Nano Cricket, or it might just be called the Cricket Diatone 405 stack. That's like the $40 stack. I've got some pretty decent motors on here in the HGLRC flame motors. These are 1105 8,000 kV motors. I've tried various motors, and I've tried a bunch of different props as well. I just can't find a combo. So let's take a look at the main thing, which is weight. Take a look, we've got big, thick carbon fiber. It's a little over 3 millimeters in the bottom plate. 1.5 millimeters is my recollection. Then we've got all this metal in here. We've got 3 metal standoffs, one here, one there. We've also got one underneath here. You might be able to see it right there. And then we've got metal screws into those metal standoffs, and we've got another metal standoff back here. So at the very least, I would think it would be durable. That's the one positive that I can bring to this review, is that if you have this, I would think because it does have so much carbon, so much metal, that it's going to protect your components pretty well, and it's very unlikely to break because it is just a little 2-inch frame. I've had this so long that I lost the picture of the frame that I usually take when I get a new frame in. I usually set it up on my scale, take a picture, and then I can go back and find it later when I finally get around to doing the actual review. In this particular case, if I took a picture, which maybe failed, I can't find it. So as I have it configured and built, it weighs over 88.5 grams. And for a cross reference, I have this Fly Fox frame. It's a 2.5-inch frame with 1107 motors, and it weighs just over 84 grams. The frame weight isn't the only difference. The props are also a big difference. There is a huge performance increase when going up just a 1/2 inch in prop size. Massive. And many of you that follow the channel and have seen many of my flights, you know this. This format is really hard to find a really good light frame for. You're typically going to find something with a single bottom plate, almost that twig, hyperlight sort of toothpick sort of style. We've been flying a lot of those recently, but I think I did the community a disservice by not bringing this to light, that this is such a heavy frame. Something else that I noticed is that I've seen this debuted a few times online. I think it was via either Ledrib's, the designer of the frame, his channel, or possibly on RotorGeeks. And it kind of caught my eye because I had this for so long that every time this did show up on screen, the DVR footage was oftentimes flashing low battery, and you're going to see why. So in this flight, you're going to see some pretty tepid flying by my standards. And I'm actually kind of babying this thing, and part of it is it takes a lot of throttle, and you can see the throttle values in the top left hand corner. I've used a different font to make that a little bit more visible, and also on that punch out, that's pretty muted. But again, 2-inchers aren't high performance by design. Probably the best 2-inchers are going to be in that whoop category where you have the plastic or the nylon frames that we've seen, because the weight will be so far reduced that the 2-inch thrust will be able to give you some pretty decent performance. And as I make some of these turns, kind of not really even at speed, I'm kind of just gently getting into them, you'll see throttle values above 60 into 70 and even 80% every once in a while. And that's kind of the running theme throughout this flight video, is when I try to make these turns that I'm really having to get on the throttle. Matter of fact, I flew this the last 2 days, and this was actually this weekend. And it took me a while to get accustomed to giving it so much throttle in most maneuvers. It's just unusual to have to do that. And unfortunately, I think this frame is still being sold, and I think it needs to be, at the very least, they need to lengthen the arms so you can fly a 2.5-inch prop. That would make it a whole lot more viable in its current format. The only reason I can see that you would fly it is because you got it for free, or you're a big fan of RotorGeeks or of Ledrib. some reason outside of performance, because it just does not perform very well. And again, I'm not flying it very hard, and we're only going to get just a little bit over a 2-minute flight. And I am using a 3S 320 milliamp battery. You can see the low battery flashes up on screen a number of times. Over the course of the flights that I did take most recently with this, I did kind of get a judgment there of how long I could fly with that on screen, and then you'll see at the very end when I do finally come into land that our battery does not recover all the way up to 3.5 volts per cell. So I technically ran it a little long. It looks like we're going to get just about 2 minutes and 18 seconds here. And there you can see the battery's trying to recover a little bit. It would probably come back to 3.5 volts per cell once it's unplugged from the machine, because it is very, very close. So it's not all rain and clouds. This is an opportunity for all of you out there, all you micro flyers who've been flying along with me as we go through this journey together, for you to leave your recommendations for anyone who might be coming and looking for a 2-inch frame. Motors, props, frame, components that you've selected. Another good resource for anybody looking for a 2-inch build would be over on Rotor Builds. There's a lot of detailed builds over there. The parts are linked. They have good pictures and descriptions. There's also sometimes, depending upon the build, some of the descriptors as to why they chose certain components or a certain frame. So please help those out that are looking at a good 2-inch frame. Steer them away from this. Unfortunately, it's not one I can suggest to anyone who wants to fly more than 2 minutes and wants to do anything more than modest flying. I think you'd just be a lot better off of just taking all these components off and putting it on a 2.5-inch frame, because it'll be lighter and it'll fly way better. So leave your suggestions down below. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in that section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.